forward to Tin2 and Godslayer coming up. Godslayer has already made the statement that he's going to play Lava Loon the entire way through. Tin2, we already saw last week, is a really, really capable Expo player, so I'm really excited to see how God's
3 games, and I hope we see some action at a Godslayer. And look, we have chairs this week!
And in the training camp.
Oh wow, you're right. You don't see this arena too often. Here comes Bandit. Oh, your favorite, buddy. Bandit comes down.
It's going to lock onto the tower. Yes.
Batman goes in with a very strong punish, and that's what you want to do against these big tank decks. When you see Lava Loon or Lava Hound come down, you know your opponent has at most 3 Elixir to defend with. So you can go really hard down the other lane, and you know they're not going to defend with much. You see 3 Musketeers out. Well, there's a Rocket in the deck, but there's not a Lightning, so he's going to have to... Oh, there's a Lightning! What do I know?
The lightning comes out on the 2 Musketeers, and it connects to the tower, and Godslayer just let that Musketeer clean up the Lava Hound, and the pups are going to do a pretty significant amount of damage.
And yeah, actually a lot of damage on both of Batman's towers already, and what came from that was the counter-attacking Mega Minion and Minions were largely ignored by Godslayer in order so he could save up the Elixir to play 3 Musketeers.
Yeah, and we see a Tombstone coming up from Godslayer, so a little bit retro Lava Hound deck. Usually nowadays you don't see the Tombstone in the Lava Hound deck, but we're seeing it make a little bit of a comeback. Do you think that's because of the potential of the rise of the Bandit?
Potentially the Bandit. I think it's also great against Battle Ram, which we saw a lot of last week. You don't really need... People have kind of moved away from Tombstone as a hog counter because of zaps and logs. They use Tornado instead, but with Battle Ram showing back up, I think Battle Ram's much weaker to Tombstone.
Yeah, and one bat is going to lock onto the tower here, and it's going to get in some really good damage.
Wow, and then he got the spawn. The Night Witch made a spawn right before dying, so you ended up with 5 bats there. A lot of damage, threatened the tower. And Godslayer actually still has the damage lead in this game, although he's changed his deck from last week. We saw Elixir Collector in his deck. This week, no Elixir Collector. Batman's got it, and he's been pumping up.
Yeah, so we'll see the Lava Hound rolling up on the right-hand lane to obviously the weaker tower, heading into double Elixir. And 3 Musketeers are going to come down behind, but a Lightning might be coming out fast. But the Ice Golem comes down as the Lightning block.
That is a pro maneuver right there. If you are a 3 Musketeers player and wondering, oh, Lightning just gives me so much trouble, one of the most common plays you're seeing out of pro players is they drop an Ice Golem down right near it. The Ice Golem will absorb one of those Lightning shots, protecting one of your Musketeers.
Yep, so now we have 2 Musketeers rolling down the right-hand lane. Battle Ram Ice Spear coming down the left, and the Battle Ram might be able to connect the tower. If Godslayer doesn't get the zap in time, he doesn't. And that Battle Ram is going to do massive damage and even take down... Ooh, very close. One more Barbarian swing, and that tower would have been down. And
this is where we see this deck really take over. Double Elixir time. You can cast 3 Musketeers pretty safely and be able to get more of them out. He's just cycling. I mean, he blasts another 3 Musketeers while Musketeers from the last cast are still on the board. Batman gives him the thumbs up, respects the play, but I think he had not just a strong counter deck, but a great game plan.
Yeah, and Batman was able to pump up almost every time he had pump in hand. He was throwing that pump down.
Good game comes out of Godslayer, and game 1 goes to Batman.
Yeah, that was a fantastic play by Batman. He knew Godslayer was going to try to save the Lightning for the 3 Musketeers, and he knew he wouldn't Lightning the pump, because then the 3 Musketeers would have came down and would have stopped Godslayer's entire push. So it was brilliant for Batman to play offset of where Godslayer was playing. We saw the Lava Hound.
Batman coming in with the 3 Muskies because he knows that that's going to counter the Lava Hound. Batman, you go. I am so proud of you.
It was a really solid play there by Batman, too. Dropping the Ice Spear with the Battle Rams into the tower. That ended up getting it just close enough so it gets
to be played. Oh, he is going into Lava Loon. Lava Hound used to be played there with miners, minion hordes, all sorts of other stuff, and using the tank into Lava Pups card in a variety of ways. But Godslayer is back. Ooh, I like the Tombstone here. You mentioned Tombstone about, Bandit Battle Ram, but it's also great against Princess. She's going to sit there and just shoot one skeleton after the other and never really get too much closer.
Yep, the Goblin Barrel is going to connect for a few hits on the right-hand side, and the Goblin Gang will get logged out from Batman. But, so Batman running a log bait against this Lava Loon.
Very good choice against Lava Loon for 2 reasons. Great at punishing, one of the best Punisher decks out there. If you ever catch yourself low Elixir between the Princess, Goblin Barrel, Goblin Gang, I mean, there's so many ways your tower can get shredded. And also, the Rocket in the deck gives him something to drop onto the Lava Loon. Like, you can hit the Balloon and the Lava Hound with the Rocket. Be thrilled. You also, of course, have the Inferno Tower. No Lightning in the deck this time, though, and that's going to be tough.
Yeah, he does have Zap, but look at the Knight on the bottom right, sneaking away, doing 1,000 damage to that right-hand tower, bringing it almost to triple digits. And while Batman hasn't received anything.
I mean, as a Golem player, I can tell you that this is one of the decks that I struggle with the most because there's almost no opportunity, especially if Batman does a good job at keeping high tempo on the board, just constantly putting one threat at a time. Put a Princess at the river. A couple seconds later, throw a Goblin Barrel. A couple seconds later, throw a Goblin Gang at the river. Yeah. If you force your opponent to react to everything, you never get to the point where I can just be like, all right, I can comfortably cast a Lava Hound at 10 Elixir.
Yep, Batman's deck is so good at keeping pressure up, and that's exactly what Batman wants to do. And that Inferno Tower Rocket kind of adds an extra layer of counter to the Lava Loon, which Godslayer is known for.
Yeah, and honestly, like, the Fireball and Zap is not as good as a Lightning. I mean, I know they cost the same, they both cost 6 and all that, but having played a lot of Golem and big tank decks, like, you would just rather have the Lightning against Inferno Tower than the Fireball Zap.
I wonder if he put Fireball in for a chance of minions, maybe like minion horde kind of thing.
I don't think he expected the Zap bait deck, because if you thought your opponent was going to play this, you would have brought Log and Arrows. Yeah. But here we go, we got the coming in, he's going to zap it.
We can see the rocket coming out, it's going to hit the balloon, and that balloon has no health. Princess will be able to, actually the Ice Spirit took it down. And then Godslayer finally connected to Batman's tower, but I think it's a little too late.
Clinic for Batman. I mean, the two Nova esports player, Batman and McHugh, have just seemed like a tier above the other players in this region. And with their match already done, like, are we going to see a clean sweep out of those two players against everyone else? I know you're rooting for your boy Oxalate, but I have been super impressed by what we've seen out of these players here. Batman throws a little bit of a moat. I think he's getting back at Godslayer. We saw Godslayer throw a couple of moats last week, so I've given him a taste of his own medicine.
You can see them both smiling a little bit on stage. They're just having a good time.
Smirk on Godslayer's face. 2-0 win for Batman as he moves to 3-1 in the standings.
Yeah, so he did take the loss earlier to CMC, and he's back on track. I think he's one of the players that even if he loses, like you said before,
get rid of those real quick. Expecting that again.
And like I said, this is one of that's log bait rocket cycle deck that Batman is playing, just like CMC played. This is one of my favorite decks to play right now.
With that.
Welcome to the couch. Welcome to the hot corner over here.
So, you know, we keep talking about Godslayer. He pretty much announced, I'm going to use Lava Loon the whole time. When you were in that matchup against him, did you just prepare for Lava Loon?
Yeah, that's what I did. I played 2 hard counters to Lava Loon, Log Bait, and 3 Musketeers. And in that first match, I got that one lightning rod at the end, and that's what won me the game.
Yeah. Smart. In retrospect, probably not the greatest idea to announce to everybody what deck you're going to be playing the entire tournament. But good job not being faked by that.
Now, I mean, today you have played at least 4 different style decks. Is there any one style that you feel like you go to most often?
Usually, I just try to, like, think about what my opponent might use, and I just try to counter that. That's pretty much what this meta is right now.
You usually, I'm sorry. You usually like to play aggressive, right?
Yeah, it depends on the deck, but usually I do play aggressive.
Right on. Yeah, you played the P.E.K.K.A deck a little bit last week, which I thought it's usually like a super control and mostly defense and then counter push, right?
Yeah.
Which was totally different from what I was expecting.
Yeah, the P.E.K.K.A is mostly for defense, and then your main win condition is the battle ram plus the lightning.
Right.
I think you started a trend with Findable Carpet's favorite, the Dark Goblin in there. I think what made you put the Dark Goblin in there as opposed to like a Princess or Archers?
So the first day I was pretty nervous, and I messaged a friend online, and I asked him for a couple decks, and his name was Jigsaw, and he sent me like a deck, but he had Hog in for Battle Ram, and I just decided to put in Battle Ram, and
so had you not played that deck before last
No, that was my first game with it.
That's actually,
oh my God.
That's a confident move. Nice,
yeah.
Man. Do you pick up decks really easily? Like, is that common for you to just play a deck and win with it? Because that's kind of a big deal. Nice.
That's very cool.
So you mentioned, you took Battle Ram instead of the Hog. Do you like having that presence of bodies once it goes down? Do you find that to be a lot more prevalent?
I feel like with Tornado in the meta, Hog just isn't really good, so I just put in Battle Ram, which is a good replacement for it.
Yeah.
Is there anything, I mean, since you've already played it once, obviously you did well, but is there anything else you'd replace in that deck?
Not really. Maybe Bandit now, since it's really good.
Yeah, true. What would you switch it for? I'm asking because I'm going to go and play.
He's like taking notes.
Maybe Goblin Gang, since it got nerfed and then Bandit got buffed.
True.
Write that down.
Yeah.
So you're a featured match against Oxalate. I don't want you to give away too many secrets because you might have some things planned, but how do you expect to deal with that? Like, what are you expecting to see from Oxalate?
I have no clue. We'll see when it's time.
Yeah. And you actually might play another one. Apparently, at the moment, I think you're doing pretty well in the polls for the 9th match. So that's against 10-2. That's a lot of matches for you in a single week. For you personally, would you rather like do them all at once and just get them out of the way? Or do you like having some time to think in between your matches?
I feel like 2 or 3 matches a day is fine, but I don't know. It's fine. I can still do it.
I mean, you're kind of on a roll. If you win this next match and then potentially the match that might happen after that, you're sitting pretty for the top 2. I mean, that may or may not just secure the top 2 for you, which has got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Is there any one player that maybe you have played already or you haven't yet that you were really anticipating to be a big match?
Me against CMC Hugh. He's one of the best players here, and yeah, that was the game I was looking forward to.
Which is pretty impressive now, because you guys are tied for first, so you've got to feel really great about that.
Yeah, I had a tough matchup against him. I had a good matchup first game against him, but I lost that. And second match, it was in his favor, and he won.
Players' names, you should probably write them down, memorize them. You're going to see quite a lot of them throughout this week and next week as well. I'll give you a quick rundown of how this works. So this is a round-robin style tournament, which means every player here is going to be playing every other player once, which means everyone's playing 7 matches. A match is a best of 3 games, and the way you earn points is by winning a match. So even if you lose a game, you'll still get the full point by winning 2 of the 3 matches. Now, it might look a little skewed right now, but the way this scoreboard works is by score differential. So essentially, it's your wins minus your losses. So you'll notice that Rice might be sitting in the middle at 2 wins and 2 losses, so he's technically at a 0 differential, while 10-2's above him at 1-0. And just to explain the color coding at the top, if you do end this round robin in the top 2, you get preferential seeding going into our finals. And if you end bottom 2, you're out, you're done, your dreams are crushed, and we're not going to get to see anymore.